Hello and welcome. We begin with developments from the Horn of Africa, where tensions between neighbouring Ethiopia and Somalia have reignited over a controversial port deal. This as Türkiye-mediated peace talks have stalled. Diplomats from both nations signal rising strains between Ethiopia and Somalia as their war of words over a Red Sea port agreement resumes. The deal in question was signed last year between Ethiopia and Somalia's breakaway region, Somaliland. Under the agreement, Ethiopia would gain access to Somaliland's strategic Berbera port, along with a 20-kilometre stretch of coastline. In return, Ethiopia would recognize Somaliland as a separate nation. Somalia, which considers Somaliland a part of its sovereign territory, condemned the deal as a gross violation of its integrity. The deal triggered a major diplomatic dispute as Somalia launched a campaign to block the deal. Türkiye, a close Somali ally, intervened to mediate, now leading to the signing of the Ankara Declaration in December last year. The declaration committed both sides to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, now to continue dialogue under Türkiye's mediation and to avoid hostile actions and pursue peaceful resolution. While seen as a diplomatic breakthrough, the declaration did not result in a final settlement, but now talks appear to have broken down. Earlier this month, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed reasserted his government's position, calling access to the Red Sea essential for Ethiopia's economic future. He also called for an amicable solution with neighbouring states. In response, Somalia renewed its criticism of the port deal, describing it as a land grab, and urged the international community to step in. Amid these developments, Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has visited Türkiye for talks with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan last week. Now, they reportedly discussed bilateral relations and regional stability. The breakdown of talks is a blow to Türkiye's peacemaking efforts. Türkiye had hoped that Ankara Declaration would serve as a model for future diplomatic engagement in Africa. Türkiye continues to position itself as a key player in the region, seeking to expand its influence through mediation and strategic partnerships across the continent. But as tensions simmer and talks remain on hold, the future of peace in the Horn of Africa hangs in the balance, with Türkiye's role as a regional mediator now facing a critical test. Now, for more on this, we have with us Sarah Cosati, a researcher at the University of Trieste. Thank you for being with us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So, Turkey's position in the Horn of Africa is shaped by diplomatic presence, economic investment, and strategic partnerships. When Turkey aims at representing a neutral but influential actor within this region, and this became evident in January 2024 when Ankara offered to mediate tensions that escalated due to the Memorandum of Understanding between Ethiopia and Somaliland. Turkey so officially hosted talks between Somalia and Ethiopia and with Somalia and Ethiopia in June 2024. And in this occasion, it underlined its willingness to diffuse tensions in an already volatile and conflict-marked region, which then led to the signing of the Ankara Declaration that was aforementioned. And this was described by the Turkish press as an historic agreement that aimed at strengthening Turkey's position as a mediator in the Horn of Africa. So, on what can Turkey leverage its position? The first is its deep ties with Somalia. So Turkey is one of Somalia's closest allies. It has been heavily investing and heavily present within this country since 2011, and it has currently its largest diplomatic complex in Mogadishu. At the same time, it has been also having long-standing relations with Ethiopia. So Turkey maintains diplomatic and economic ties with Ethiopia. It is a key investor within this country, and Ethiopia also avails of the transfer of Turkish military and technologies to promote investment projects and programs. So Turkey benefits from this position that it has a very rare position in which it has access and influence on both sides. And obviously also it benefits from a non-colonial legacy. So unlike Western actors, Turkey is viewed by many countries within this region as non-interventionist, a non-colonial party, and this obviously adds credibility to its position as a mediator. At the same time, obviously, Turkey has also been facing structural challenges in its efforts to mediate the dispute between Ethiopia and Somaliland, and this became clear in as the talks stalled in February 2025. And what have these challenges had to do with? First, Somalia's uncompromising stance on sovereignty. So Mogadishu continues to view this a memorandum of understanding as a violation to its sovereignty, and Ankara's close alignment to the Somali federal government obviously limits its ability to appear as a neutral actor, also at the eyes of Ethiopia and Somaliland, and also its ability to propose flexible frameworks that might be acceptable by all parties.
Yes. Now, Sarah, following President Erdogan's recent meeting with the Somali president, do you see a shift in Turkey's diplomatic approach? And what outcomes, if any, can we realistically expect from Ankara's involvement?
Well, President Erdogan's recent closed-door meeting with the Somali president was aimed at discussing both bilateral relations but also regional issues. And this suggests a measured but strategic recalibration of Turkey's diplomatic approach in the Horn of Africa, with potential impact on the Ethiopia, Somaliland, and Somalia triangle. In fact, during this meeting, Somalia and Turkey discussed territorial integrity, counterterrorism effort, but also the importance of regional cooperation. And this obviously signaled a more proactive and mediator posture on Turkey's behalf that moves from purely bilateral diplomacy to regional arbitration. And this might have effects on the short, medium, and long term. And obviously, this marks a shift in Ankara's position, and it is aiming at moving from a supporter to a strategist in the Somalia-Ethiopia dispute, but also more broadly within the Horn of Africa region. And while a full resolution is unlikely in the short term, Ankara can realistically facilitate dialogue, de-escalation, and also foster cooperation, especially if it continues on this line of building trust on both parties.
Right. Sarah, thank you so much for being with us on Firstpost Africa.
Thank you very much.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
$36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion kakaljo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
$4
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.